Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Hello everyone. Welcome to another lecture. You're listening to a Muslim futurist speaking at an interesting time in the world. And just like my own heart, I believe from the heart of all the members of the species, the hearts of all the members of the species goes out to the human beings that are fighting wars right now, that are confused. The species feels sorry for the humans caught in war because it is unnecessary and the species is too mature. However, I thought about this world and this life. And guys, the reason I'm saying that is because right now we're in the Iran-Israel conflict situation. My mother was in Iran, but she managed to go to Turkey. It's a very intense time, and within the prayers of all beings must be that God guides the ignorance of man to not destroy itself. But at the same time, I do believe that there is a system admin, which I consider God, and I do believe there is a divine management in this world. I believe it's not just human beings on earth, it's human beings within a multi-layered system, within a very advanced position, Anyways, to begin. So ladies and gentlemen, today, or I shouldn't say ladies and gentlemen, my beloved species, my species, as a member of the species, I wanted to bring something to the attention of all of us. And so, is Earth an administered open cybernetic meta system? We have reached a very interesting time, I would say, in the consideration of human values. History has turned to a page that our ancestors could not fathom. For the first time, I find myself as a human being blessed and privileged. It's an opportunity of a lifetime to communicate in whatever way I am capable with a species and to explain to them that's an ancient core pattern, in some sense, has archaically revived. It has archaically revived, and now there is an intersection. And as a human being, if the past was horizontal and the present is vertical, I am seeing the intersection. I am seeing I'm seeing two lines that in some sense intersect, and in some sense two realities, two significant algorithms on this planet. They're in some sense, I want to explain to you how, in the same way, I'm a Muslim futurist. I write science fiction. And if you wonder what a Muslim futurist believes in, a Muslim futurist believes all simulated existence will return to an original power. For this lecture today, I have prepared, in some sense, some research I will lead for you. And the main intention is, let me tell you something crazy, guys. Let me tell you something awesome. Something you would never know. Before giving this lecture, guys, let me tell you what my process is. I usually sit down and a sentence comes to my mind, and that sentence has a scene, and then I zoom in on that scene and a film arises, and then I begin talking about the topic. Okay? But today when I came and sat down, usually I have this feeling, this expectation, the sentence would come, but there was no sentence. That means for the first time, not for the first time, maybe like this has happened once or twice before, but I uploaded the picture of the lecture, and I usually I write the title and then I upload the picture. Okay, but I'm telling you today something fascinating. I was like, okay, I'm in the mood to give a talk. I sat down, and usually the talk, like for years it's been like this, it just comes to me, you know, but now it was empty, right? And usually when it's like that, I go and walk a little bit, and I went and walked a little bit before giving this lecture, and still it was empty. It was as if I wasn't picking up anything, you know? If I was an antenna, I wasn't receiving any signals, you know, or I wasn't seeing that sort of movement or life force behind my inner realms to move me to give the talk. So guys, check this out. I come and sit down, and I'm like, maybe this is, I need to give a talk about something that I need to learn. You know, sometimes I do have that feeling. So I sat down, and I just began to wonder, all right, man, you're alive for some time. What makes sense to talk about right now? Okay. And for me, I don't know how to explain this to you. Reality is not just conceptualization for me. The conceptualization is based on the contextualization. That means if you look at the educational system, the teacher comes in and he's like, yo, these are the concepts, memorize these, you stupid kids, you know, and leaves. Do you know what I mean? But I understood I can't learn like that. You don't understand how many classes I attended, yet I didn't care because I had no way to relate to the context where the concepts emerged. In the same way, for example, you know, so many kids are going to be like, when will I ever use calculus? You know, I'm telling you, you got to understand the context of reality, and then what forces our life force to move as beings is the questions that our hearts want answers to. That is the way you learn. That's the greatest way to learn, you know? But anyways, what I'm trying to say is that they teach the concepts, and then you got to go and study it and learn it. Learning it meaning that you got to position that concept that has come from external to you into your internal story of life, in the background of what all of it means. So if somebody's like, hey man, is learning on earth like you're privately updating your own world all the time, or what is it exactly? And I will tell you honestly, guys, if you treat it like, this is how I approach it. I reached a point where I was like, nobody has my eyes, so nobody really can be aware of the same amount of stuff I am to in some sense help me specifically. Okay, at the same time, I was like, what if everybody is wrong? And the third was, I was like, what if I was stranded on an island? How would I rediscover everything? You know? And so these three vibes, you know, together made me, and even something deeper than that. You don't understand. I don't know if it's because I'm born as a man, or if it's my conditioning, or what it is. But I think it's something deeper than that. It's like, you know how some people have OCD? Like, I have an aunt, guys, trust me, this all ties back in. I have an aunt that, you know, she lived in Germany, Hamburg, right? And when me and my brother and my family, my parents would visit her, right? Like once every, 5 years or something. She was so picky about where like the cutlery had to be placed. If there was a drop of water on like the handlebar of the bathroom, on the hand of the sink, like, you know how sinks are. Do you know? That means she had an organization in her mind, that if the reality demonstrated an organization different than that, she had to reorganize reality into her reality. Okay? Now, OCD stands for obsessive compulsive disorder. Okay? And it's another way of saying when you're super picky about reality. For me, being somewhere as a being and not knowing where I am disturbs the whatever organizational models of my mind. Okay? So I'm telling you, when you realize you're in the middle of an unknown world, like you've opened your eyes as an unknown self in an unknown world, and you're knowing it for a simulated time in a certain way. How do I say it? Pretty much, I'm trying to tell you that as a human being, I was trying to tell you that true learning is about placing, in the sense of realizing concepts come to life through their context. Okay, and if you understand the context of something, you can place the concepts, you can reorient the concepts in it. It's like a person is capable. So, guys, I was just like, yo, man, how many different types of systems are there? And if reality is an existential system, if this life we're living here is a system, what kind of system could it be explained as? Now, I'm also privileged as a human being to be alive at a time where, like, we're working with the caveman version of AI, even though it's a way more advanced information processor than the human brain. I made a prediction that in the far, like in maybe 10 years, not 10 years, but, maybe in like 5 years from now, you're going to see me be having conversations with like advanced AI, and I'm going to show those to the viewers. But it's all in accordance to a greater system administration. So, ladies and gentlemen, pretty much I'm trying to tell you, I usually sit here and there's an inner realm movement, and I sat today to give the talk, and strangely, like as if intentionally, it was as if the talk didn't need to start from me. Do you know what I mean? And so in some sense I was like, okay, all right, if right now I have to communicate about something that is outside of me, in some sense I need to explain the context, therefore there needs to be an explanation of the relationship of systems. Okay, but anyways, guys, you're listening today to a Muslim futurist try to explain to you how this earth is a system, this world is a system, and how this idea falls into, it's pretty much, I've realized the world is following a hidden religious algorithm. You're gonna see. I'm gonna read the research part now, guys, and then. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen, grab a piece of paper and a pen, and you're taking notes, your own understandings of what you hear me say. And what you do and you in some sense try to wonder what kind of system this world is. This lecture is about trying to figure out all the different types of systems, or like the different types of systems. And in some sense, if Earth is a system, what kind of system? And we, in some sense, human beings that find themselves in an unknown world, these are clues, ladies and gentlemen. The systematic behavior of the world in front of our eyes is a clue of its design. It's suggesting something. This world is not just, yo man, I opened my eyes somewhere. It's like, what is somewhere? How is where even here? Do you know what I mean? And so we have to question reality with the depth and intensity, as if nobody had our eyes, and if everybody was wrong, and in some sense if the future depended on it, in some sense what would we do? Okay? To be honest, I don't know any of you. I don't know any person that listens to my talk, how you're hearing it, how my voice enters your ear. It's as if I was not destined to see, to know who, most of my listeners are. But I have spoken to you. And deeply I have spoken to the species. I'm speaking to all of your future selves. So anyways, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to read for you. Life on Earth as an administrative system. Thesis. Life on Earth as an administered system. I am reading from AI. This is the research component of the lecture. I am not a perfect person and I am learning. That's the whole point of this reality, it seems. Thesis. Earth functions as an open, cybernetic, and administered system in which humans are both agents and emerging co-administrators. The biosphere exchanges energy and matter. It's an open system. It regulates itself. It's cybernetic and is increasingly governed by human institutions and technologies. It's administered. The academic basis. According to general systems theory, von Bertalanffy, 1968, and Cybernetics, Wiener, 1948, a system, astaghfirullah, Cybernetics was written by Wiener. According to general systems theory, von Bertalanffy, 1968, and Cybernetics, Wiener, 1948, a system is a set of interacting or interdependent components forming an integrated whole. Okay, guys, this is very important. Earth and its societies are composed of nested systems layered by control, administration, feedback, cybernetics, and exchange, open. So, guys, a system is a set of interacting or interdependent components forming an integrated whole. In other words, when you look at 8 billion human beings walking on the earth, you're looking at, in some sense, and how they're interdependent and they interact with one another. You're looking at components in a human system. Okay? We're looking at the components of an existential system, and we're wondering in some sense how this existential system has in some sense reached other systems and awareness to other systems even. So right before that, it's kind of like, honestly, I got to be a little professorish. A system, we've understood that. Set of elements, forming an integrated whole. That's the whole point of systems thinking. It's acknowledging, it's conscious of how the separate components are leading to the whole. Now, we need to study the different types of systems and think of it this way, imagine you're a warrior and I'm explaining to you the different types of weapons you can use to go to a battlefield. Imagine I'm like a blacksmith. Do you know what I mean? And so we want to study systems. So that I'm going to keep reading. Types of systems and the different types of systems in earthly contexts. Closed systems. So a type of system, it's a closed system. Academic definition, a closed system is one that does not exchange matter or energy with its environment. Bertalanffy, 1968. It is isolated from external influence. Earth examples: space capsules, International Space Station's life support loop, thermos flasks, theoretical isolated ecosystems and research. Guys, an example that it gave it another prompt was that, like, imagine here, no, actually it said it here, International Space Station. So think of it this way: it's a closed system, it's dependent on what's inside of it. That means in some sense it doesn't exchange matter or energy with its environment. That's a closed system. Imagine there's an alphabet of systems, or there's like different classes of systems, just like there's different types of human beings, different types of biological systems even. for different species. Similarly, we're trying to figure out, all right, let's see generally what are the systems. So we have a closed system. So the system's closed off, you know, introversion, shyness, you're living as a closed system. Here it says behavior. So the behavior of a closed system is predictable. Entropy increases without intervention. Second law of thermodynamics. No input or output disrupts adaptation. Yeah, it's a closed system, right? That means it's limited to what's inside it. Okay? Simplified summary, a closed system is sealed off and changes only through what it already contains. Like a space capsule, it must self-sustain completely. So, you know, when you see somebody, for example, like somebody who doesn't, is we say they're closed-minded, their mind is closed. What does that mean? That person doesn't want their reality to expand. I've seen so many people like this. Usually people like this, they're like, that's too deep. Whenever I hear that sentence, I'm like, wow, this guy, we reached the limit of this person's system, you know, to the degree that now they have to close their system. They can't keep their system open. Do you know, for me, it's like if they're like, hey man, what kind of, you know, just to say, for example, if I was asked what kind of like, let's say, wife I want in the future, you know, I would say, okay, so it would, if I was to treat it as a system, so, or I'll say it this way, externally, let's say healthy, beautiful, you know, kind-hearted, but the most important thing would be the design of the mind, right? Think of it like a car engine. So it's like when you meet another person, you're like, what kind of engine do they have in that body? Do you know what I mean? And so that means, are they a closed system? Do they thrive? Like, let me tell you, for me personally, I'm an entity that thrives on an open system. And I wondered why, and I was like, okay, my mind is moving faster than my body, so I get bored in my closed systems. You know, a person being like, no man, I only believe what I know, what I only like, you know, what's only of value to me. Like, the limitations of that. What I'm trying to tell you is that, like, human beings are very similar to cars. So guys, keep your mind as an open system, which means don't become satisfied with your own world when there's a greater world in front of you. Okay? Be very careful. Anyway, so I'm just trying to explain the systems right now. We're like, imagine me like a National Geographic person, but in some sense, instead of like narrating, instead of narrating, you know, natural ideas in their natural animals in their natural habitats, I'm like narrating unnatural ideas in unnatural habitats. Next, we go to the next one. I mean, anybody could guess what the next one is. You know? We come to an open system. An open system, academic definition, Bertalanffy, 1968. An open system is one that interacts with its environment, exchanging energy, information, and matter. So you as a being, when you are interacting even with whatever, see guys, what I'm doing is I'm using a fractal method of looking at complex situations and wondering, okay, in a simpler view context, how would it be? You know, and then wondering about it in a more advanced context, what would those concepts mean, right? So anyways, an open system, it's one that's open to the world. In some sense, a shy kid is a closed system of mind, shyness, you know, or introversion, you know. I mean, in a manner of sense, not completely. What I'm saying, shy people, introverted people are like, you know, closed systems. Extroverted people are like open systems. Earth examples: human bodies, eating, breathing, excreting, cities, import, export of goods, people, culture. Earth's biosphere, solar input, radiation output. Behavior, adaptive and evolving. Maintains dynamic equilibrium, homeostasis, influenced by external forces. It's influenced by external forces. So guys, think of it this way: the only reason we're like adapting and we're evolving through adapting to how our world and environments change, it's simply because the world is not a closed system, it's an open system. That means in the same way, like there's how many different things, let's say contexts of life relate to you. It's pretty much like it's not just Earth in a vacuum, it's Earth in a cosmos filled with so many different celestial forms. Simplified summary: an open system is alive to the world around it. It breathes, eats, reacts, and grows based on its surroundings. So guys, I want you to for a moment appreciate how you're in an open system, how life is like a film, it's not like a photograph, how you're a moving human being, you're not a statue. In some sense, it's an open system. It's the unknown variables that most people are scared of, which they don't understand. It's what makes life beautiful. That means if we just knew everything, like if we just accepted a closed system, it would be in some sense decay. It would be like we lived inside a box when outside of the box there was a reality. So guys, it's very important. It says an open system is alive to the world around it. So we have closed systems, we have open systems, we go to cybernetic systems, third kind of system. Cybernetic, it means feedback controlled. Academic definition: cybernetic systems use feedback loops to regulate behavior and maintain stability. Weiner 1948. Feedback may be positive, amplifying, or negative, stabilizing. Earth examples: human body temperature regulation, homeostasis. So your body is like a cybernetic system. Economic markets, interest rate changes affecting inflation. Yeah. Interest rate changes affecting inflation. AI systems, self-learning through feedback. Behavior, self-regulating, responsive, either stabilizes or spirals based on feedback polarity. Simplified summary: a cybernetic system listens to itself. If it gets too hot, it cools down. If it's too cold, it heats up. Think of a thermostat or a healthy body. So anything that can update because it has feedback. So you, like a human being, like children, when they're learning to walk, they fall down, and it's like a cybernetic system. You know, the feedback, tells them to do this, do not do that, Then we go to 4, self-organizing systems. Academic definition: a self-organizing system is a system that spontaneously increases its organization or complexity without external direction. Ashby 1962, Prigogine 1977. So a self-organizing system that spontaneously increases its organization or complexity without external direction. Earth examples: neural networks, traffic flow patterns, flocking birds or ant colonies, behavior, emergence, Their whole is greater than the sum of their parts, decentralized, controlled, adaptive, and resilient. A summary would be these systems built their own structure from the bottom up, like how flocks of birds fly in sync without a leader. Fascinating. But I think the fascinating thing is really that spontaneously increases its organization. That means how the self is organizing the system. There is an unknown aspect to it, even though it's not mentioned here. But it applies, guys. So let me say it so far. We're at the fourth type of system. So first we had a closed system. Imagine a shy person. Then you add an open system. Imagine like a outgoing person. And 3, you have cybernetic systems. Imagine a person looking in the mirror. And you have a self-organizing system. Imagine a person like organizing the room. And then we go to 5th, simplified summary. 3 systems, these systems built, no, I read that. Okay, we go to 5th type of system, okay, autopoietic system, autopoietic systems. Autopoiesis, Maturana and Varela, 1972. Autopoiesis defines systems that are self-producing and self-maintaining. They regenerate their own components to preserve identity. Earth examples: single cells, human consciousness, ecosystems, nutrient and energy cycles. So the behavior is self-contained logic, self-repairing, identity-preserving. So the ego is an autopoietic system, guys. Your idea of self is an autopoietic system. It's like your ego maintains itself by relating to the moment. And in some sense, I think in every moment, imagine like person A and person B, they meet in one moment. It's as if there is a sort of theater. Imagine a theater stage, and there are archetypal roles that they can activate in. So one person can do something bad, they become the bad guy in the moment. They in some sense activate that archetype, and somebody becomes the good guy. Do you know what I mean? Or somebody becomes the fool, somebody becomes smarter. When you look at human beings, they're using duality everywhere. We're filtering things dualistically, not realizing reality is beyond it. Right now, world leaders are only thinking dualistically. I'm right, and you are wrong, and the other nation's like, no, you're wrong. I'm right. Do you know what I mean? It's a dualistic system. It has to either be win-lose. They don't understand win-win belongs to a superior mind. It belongs to an advanced mind. That means once you realize every person in this life that you have considered as an enemy has also simultaneously been a member of the human species that has arrived in this world to serve the species. You don't understand. And they're fulfilling. It's like these souls embodied through form, with these unknown dynamic minds fulfilling roles in existence that are waiting for them, It's as if you just see, for me, like I'll give you an example. The idea Mr.Within came to my mind in 2014, and I'm like, am I the first person in history who's like cared about these two words beside each other? That has said it. And so I went and saw an archetype, and I began fulfilling it, and in some sense it's manifested as my life. So anyways, guys, you have an autopoietic system, systems that are self-producing and self-maintaining. So in an autopoietic system, an example would be a responsible human being. Okay, they're responsible for their own production, for their own maintenance, it's like you're responsible for your own constructive actions and deconstructive actions, and you realize this is strangely a sort of part of the meaning of life, that you start in the passenger seat of your own self, then you go into the driver's seat, then you realize you belong to a greater system. So imagine all the opinions you have on yourself, that's like one system, right? And some people, they're just treat their own perception as a closed system, like this is it, this is my truth. You know what I mean? Or there's some people who have an open system, who at some point, if you wonder what is the most open system view, beyond the system there's value. Pretty much human beings are divided. Is the value, is the world a closed system, or the world an open system? So all those people who believe in an afterlife, they're treating the world as an open system. Anyways, let's keep going. So the simplified summary was, these systems, about poetic systems, are these systems are alive in a deep sense. They keep remaking themselves to survive and stay themselves. Then you have distributed systems, the sixth type of system. Academic definition. A distributed system is a system where components are located on different networked computers or agents and communicate to achieve a common goal. A distributed system is a system, so the power of the system is distributed, where components are located on different networks, on different networked computers or agents, and communicate to achieve a common goal. Okay, let's I'm going to keep reading. Earth examples: blockchain, Bitcoin, Ethereum, peer-to-peer networks, internet infrastructure. Behavior: decentralized, fault-tolerant, consensus-based. Summary: a distributed system has no central boss, just many smart pieces working together, like ants in a colony or computers in a blockchain. So we define that a system is, in some sense, made how the elements are interacting with one another, and interdependent, and they are leading to a whole. So a distributed system is, in some sense, a system where the elements in it are communicating, but they're not all in the same place. So I guess different human, imagine that a person speaking to someone from another part of the world, and that reality emerging is a distributed system. Or when people when singers, are featured in songs with other singers, for example. Collaborations, pretty much. So then we go to administered systems. Academic definition. An administered system has centralized or hierarchical oversight, managed by rules, agents, and control layers. Leavitt, 1965. Checkland, 1999. Earth examples: nation states, governments, military, cloud computing systems with sysadmins. Religions, clerical hierarchy administering behavior. And then we have the behavior of an administered system: top-down control, enforces rules and roles, can log, restrict, or optimize behavior. A simplified summary: this is a system with an operator or ruler. Someone sets the rules and watches over it, like a government or god or a server admin. So guys, why do I constantly say that as a Muslim I believe the system admin is beyond the world room, beyond the simulated existential system? Right now, guys, we're living in a world where the administered systems can be seen everywhere. You right now own the clothes you're wearing. You right now acknowledge laws in society. Human beings are demonstrating everywhere that they are capable of functioning in an administered system, where we are an administered system from regards to like the regulation of our body. Like what you eat affects your body. You're like the system admin of your body. Do you see what I'm saying? You can administer the system of your body. Now the question is, there's still more to read about the different kinds of systems. But pretty much keep in mind, an administered system has an administrator. It's hard to. And then you have 8 intelligent systems. Academic definition. An intelligent system is one that can perceive its environment, reason, and act towards goals, adapting its behavior. Russell and Norvig, 2010. Earth examples. AI assistants, ChatGPT, Siri, autonomous vehicles, smart cities. Behavior learns over time, goal-oriented, capable of prediction and optimization. So an intelligent system, it perceives its environment, it can reason and can calculate, and it can act towards goals. It can consider greater value structures, or meaning structures. And it can adapt its behavior. So an intelligent system is like a human being, that can go in any environment and adjust to it. Simplified summary. These systems are like thinking machines. They don't just react, they learn and plan what to do next. So think of an intelligent system like a human being reading a book. It's learning. And it can plan what to do next. 9, imagine a human being a strategist, for example. So 9, we have meta systems. System of systems. So the academic definition. A meta system is a high order system that governs or observes other systems. First of all, so this was said by Boulding, 1956, and some dude named Beer, B-E-R, 1972. We'll slow hand clap to these guys. I'll read the full thing. It says a metasystem is a high-order system that governs or observes other systems. Boulding, 1956. Beer, 1972. It may set standards, resolve conflicts, or allocate resources. Earth examples: United Nations, Internet governance, ICANN, ICANN. Your brain managing organs and decisions. Behavior oversees other systems, manages integration and coordination, controls meta rules and interfaces. So imagine a human being playing chess. Simplified summary. A meta system is like a system manager. It watches the systems under it and makes sure they work together. Earth is a multi-layered system. Earth is an administered, open, cybernetic meta system. It's open because it exchanges energy, sunlight, and information, humans. Cybernetic adjusts via climate, biology, and technology. Administered, managed by natural law, human law, and now AI. And it doesn't say it here, but also the idea of God being the system admin of reality. Meta means humans build systems that manage other systems, such as governments, AI platforms, ecosystems. I'm going to read the final summary table. So guys, pretty much we're in the research portion of the lecture, and in the same way, like there's different types of behaviors, emotions, colors, ideas, you know what I mean? or different type of trees, for example, or different type of weapons, or different type of like books, you know what I mean? I'm saying we're looking at systems. Closed system, so this I'm reading the summary. Closed system, academic basis, Bertalanffy. An example would be space capsule, like a space station. One line summary, sealed system, no interaction with the outside. Open system, exchanges info, matter, and energy. Cybernetic, self-regulates through feedback. Self-organizing, builds order from within, bottom up. Autopoietic, self-generating and self-sustaining. Distributed, many agents, no boss, shared control. Administered, controlled by rules and administrators. Intelligent, learns, adapts, and pursues goals. Meta system, oversees and coordinates other systems. So there's closed systems, a shy person. There's open system, imagine a very extroverted person. There's cybernetic system, imagine there's a person looking in the mirror. There's a self-organizing system, imagine a person, for example, cleaning their room. There's an autopoietic system, self-generating and self-sustaining, the person's going to work. Distributed system, many agents, no boss, shared control. Imagine the human being is in a party. Administered system, controlled by rules and administrators. Imagine the person in some sense controls how their body moves, or imagine a person, being the boss of a company. And then you have an intelligent systems, learns, adapts, and pursues goals. Imagine a human being doing push-ups and then correcting its form. Then you have like a meta system, oversees and coordinates other systems. Imagine a human being sitting in front of like surveillance screens, cameras of surveillance screens, like a security guard or something. It's overseeing. Anyways, guys, that was the research part. So when you hear the sentence, So, ladies and gentlemen, you should understand the title now. It's an administered system. We administer our bodies, society administers us, politics administers society, and then human nature administers politics, and human nature, in some senses, administered by its awareness. And the awareness has depths in regards to, for example, like this notion of the system administrator. I think is very key. So 100% we're inside an administered system. That's the greatest clue that there is in a system admin. It's designed in accordance to being conscious of higher ideals that regulate it. Okay, so we're in an administered system, we're in an open system. The world is not like a photograph, it's endlessly changing. We're in a cybernetic system because we're conscious. We can notice the difference between yesterday and tomorrow. We're in a meta system because there are systems that in some sense observe the rest, right? So imagine a boss in a company, is watching over all the employees in that company. So it's a multi-layered system, and it's an administered open cybernetic meta system. So now, guys, I'm gonna have a quick breather, and then I'm gonna come back. We finished part one, the research part. Part two, I'm gonna explain to you how I truly see this system, what I feel the point is. Okay, back to it. All right. So, guys, you heard what AI had to say. We were introduced to different type of systems, and now, how can I, as a human being, not like how can I explain to you how this world translates to me as a system? I notice that my body is a system. It's a biological system. I notice that existence is a physical system. I notice that there is a chemical system. I notice that there is, in some sense, so if I was to look at this world and be like, all right, let's try to count the systems. We start off with our awareness as something on something, which means a human on a planet. And so if I just start from there, the world is an existential system. That means it's a physical system. Or sorry, it's an existential system. It can be seen as a physical system. You can, in some sense, see a physical system. We have a chemical system. We have a biological system. We have an ideological system. We have a conceptual system. The idea of ourselves is like an abstract way where we are being. There's planetary systems. And to be honest, system seems to be like, imagine there was a bunch of random dots on a piece of paper. Would you be like grouping them up in circles? It's pretty much what we're containing to understand. So for me, it's at first I'm like, oh my God, I'm a human being. At some point, I'm gonna die. What am I gonna do on this planet? There's like that initial first wave of that. But then you reach a point where you zoom in and you begin to see, okay, so there's a biological system. There needs to be a biological strategy. For me, I've divided the systems really simply in regards to, in front of my eyes is the outer realms, behind my eyes is the inner realms. The inner realms is private and personal. Comes across that way. The outer realms is public and impersonal, you know. So for me, something dawned on me that everything has a certain designated time of being, And in some sense, I believe all human beings are aware of this. We're aware that we're like candles in a dark room. But what should we brighten up next, really? So the point of it is like, all right, what is the value to my biological system, let's say 100 years? What is the value to my psychological system? If I serve humanity, it could be eternal. What is the value? Like, do you understand there's so many things coming and going within the scope of the awareness of the human being? That it's as if wondering, as if somebody finds themselves in the afterlife and then they're like, you're going to this place or that place. And the person's like, I don't even know who I was, to in some sense see what the judgment of who I am is going to be. In other words, what is the true depth of the individual position of being? And there's individual systems, there's collective systems. System is just a very beautiful word to contextualize. So I see it like this. I see it that we're inside an existential system. We are users. There's mods, moderators, and there is a system admin. The moderators are simulated, just like how we are created. The moderators are created. The moderators have certain authority over the simulation, but they are not the system admin. You got to understand, no created being, all created beings are like equal creations of God. For me, life is all about, all right, there, in these simulated circumstances, there is something that is looking through my eyes at this world and wondering about, in this, from this position of emergence, what is the advanced shift. Pretty much the world is a bunch of systems, guys. Systems are simulations. They have a system admin. As much as there's systems that could be overseeing other systems, there is a system admin that cannot be systemized. That is, we're within a divine surveillance state within a simulated testing zone. The point of life is not even figuring out who you are. It's more like figuring out the proper protocol to reality. I am a human being that seeks advanced greatness. These two values I have, for a decade, I've been staring at them all the time. And to be honest, the system, the world, the kind of system really the world is that there's 8 billion different human DNAs. There's so many different species and creatures. We all find ourselves positioned somewhere. We find ourselves positioned in a regulated environment. Reality is too uniquely designed. For me, it's honestly too designed. And I've even noticed the system administration, the divine management behind the scenes at certain moments in this life. And to some degree, for me, it is honestly like, I understand why they say only the system admin needs to be feared, because nothing in the simulation can change destiny. It's a program. You're a biological program. You're an objective program. And now there's a subjective program. Your biological program to your mind appears as a closed system. You treat yourself as a noun in front of your eyes. But the eyes that are looking in front of itself are not based on just that. Like the moment you were aware of two ideas, more than one idea, you were never an idea. And so the question comes, what is the mind? And I would even explain it differently. I would say that in front of my eyes, I'm a biological organism. Behind my eyes, I am an awareness. I am an awareness to how my inner models happen ahead of my body, and my body follows. So to me, we're in like this giant unknown system. Human beings have tried to know it, their best attempt. Excuse me. Their best attempt has been a deviation from nature. Right? So in some sense, species immaturity would translate as treating life as a closed system. When you treat life as an open system, it's not that you're rejecting the closed system. You see, the more a person becomes religious, the more they realize everything is okay. Not everything is allowed, but I'm saying there is the presence of reality, there is an awareness beyond. Ladies and gentlemen, you're inside an existential system. You're a simulated player in this multiplayer online game that's kind of like three-dimensional, and instead of pixels, it's made of the elements. You keep logging in and logging out of this system, you know, and there's a contrast. And because of this dualistic contrast of how this system has been contextualized, from stretching from the night and day to good and evil, you know what I mean? So we in some sense recognize that mankind is a species still at the struggling phase of wondering about how to handle duality. It's as if first there was no consciousness, a singular being, and a singular position of, let's say, even secularly speaking, biological evolution, like an unconscious being. Then this being became conscious. But what does consciousness mean? Consciousness means contrast. Consciousness means that the self is separate from the world. Consciousness means that one part of the system can do something else to the other part of the system. You know, it can be aware of it. You know? So that, in some sense, the awareness to duality is what the species has been struggling with, but now it has matured to the realization that how do we know there is good and bad before, how do we know we are good or bad if before we've done anything? So there's an awareness to good and bad at the same time, and that awareness, it cannot be defined by good and bad. I don't know how to say it. It's like in the everything that I've looked at, and I'm like, good, bad, right, wrong. It's just been geometry in motion on some level. Anyways, folks, thank you for listening. I hope this lecture was interesting. If you've try to in the chat section, not chat section, in the comment section, write about how do you see life as a system? What kind of a system is life to you? And try to write it in your own inner voice, your writer's voice. This doesn't mean listen to trust yourself and be honest, and you'll realize the excellence in communication. Anyways, thank you. And it's an incredible place we are. The species is advancing. In the name of God, the most benevolent, the most merciful. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for listening.